Thank you everyone for taking your time to join us. My name is Oliver. Before we get started, let's talk a little bit about the agenda. So we're going to talk in general today about CCIR and really be focusing on our two online research mentorship programs, the Future Scholar and the One-on-One program. We'll talk a little bit about tuition and scholarship, and towards the very end, we'll open up the floor for questions. In the meantime, if you have any questions, feel free to pop them into the chat, but do expect that a lot of your questions will be answered towards the end of the conversation. So feel free to use the chat as a note-taking mechanism for now, but just as a heads up, many of those questions may get answered as we go along. Okay, so CCIR has been around at this stage for about, 6, almost 7 years. And the core of what we do is that we offer intensive online research mentorship programs, primarily to high school students, but in some cases also to undergraduates through the one-on-one program. The programs we run at the Academy are the core of what we do here at CCIR, but we actually do quite a lot of other work as well. If you're interested in some of the other work that we do, I encourage you to go check out our website. There is an extensive public lecture initiative that we do. We run an ongoing series of podcasts, and we'll talk a little bit today about the essay competition, but there is a separate workshop for that if you're interested in learning more about the Rethink Essay Competition. Our focus today will be the CCIR Academy, where we have developed our two programs for online research mentorship. The basic idea here is that we want to develop a program that is rigorous in its standards, competitive in its missions, and competitive in its academics. This means that we are running a program that is at the highest academic rigor that is currently available to students. So we're running a program that is meant to be rigorous both in its academics and its admissions. And part of the reason here is because we are working with some of the best faculty in the world. When we say that we are working with some of the best faculty in the world, we mean that in the UK, we are primarily working with faculty from Oxford and Cambridge, while in the US, we're working with familiar household names of top 20 schools, your MITs, Harvards, Browns, Stanfords, and Columbias. Undoubtedly, a lot of you guys are here interested in our programs because you are high school students hoping to deepen and broaden some of your academic and intellectual interests. And to do so in a way that can increase your chances at the elite level of admissions in sort of highly competitive undergraduate admissions. We at CCIR are keenly aware that a lot of our students are coming to our programs in part in hopes of building their profiles in this highly competitive undergraduate admissions landscape. Over the past 5 to 10 years or so, what we've discovered is that research has become an increasingly central part to elite level undergraduate admissions. Key reason we believe this is happening is because of the widespread inflation of traditional markers of academic excellence. As you guys know, increasingly, more and more students these days get 4.0 GPAs, more and more students get 1,500 SATs, and so on and so forth, such that at the elite level, these sorts of traditional markers no longer suffice to distinguish yourself from the pack in this highly competitive undergraduate admissions landscape. It's really within this context that doing a research project at somewhere like CCIR, working with a leading academic, potentially securing a letter of reference, can really help you shine in elite level undergraduate admissions. We find this on both sides of the aisles of the statistics. At UPenn, we notice that 30% of its 2026 class of freshmen engage in some form of high school research. When we looked at the US and looked at our own alumni, we found that 30.8 of our US applying alumni ended up going to Ivy Leagues, Stanford, or MIT. When we looked at the UK, we found that 30.7% of our UK alumni ended up going to either Oxford or Cambridge. At the top 30 level, the statistics are even more impressive. 75% of our top US applying alumni ended up in the top 30 schools. These are slightly dated statistics. You can find out more about who we sampled, how we sampled them from our website. We have a blog post on all of this. But the point here is to recognize that doing research has just become an increasingly pivotal way of showcasing yourself in elite level undergraduate missions. We at CCIR do a lot of work in helping our students showcase their work during and post program. One of the things that makes CCIR really quite unique is a system we've developed over the years that we call targeted publication support. The basic idea here is that regardless of what program you do here at CCIR, the goal here is to have a project-based and research-focused learning experience that ends up yielding a final project. What we at CCIR will then do with your final project is we will look at that project and see what we can do to help you in showcasing it, whether at high school level science fairs, undergraduate level conferences, graduate level workshops, or even professional level journals. The reason we call this system targeted publication support is because different students have different capabilities and are able to do different levels of projects. What we at CCIR have is the expertise to determine who can publish where and how. We give you the support, the scaffolding that allows our students to publish at elite venues that are within reach for them. If you guys are interested in where our students are publishing, how they're publishing, I encourage you guys to go to the website, check out the Spotlight series. There you can find detailed student interviews on what students are researching, where they're publishing, and so on and so forth. Since 2024, CCIR has also been the Science Olympiad's preferred student research partner. We sponsor upwards of 10 teams a year with monetary support in this front. CCIR has 2 in-person lab opportunities now that are built into the program at no additional cost. Starting in spring 2025, current and future CCIR students from both programs are now able to conduct their own experiments at one of 2 labs. It's worth mentioning that these are biosafety level 2 facilities that are mostly designed for biomedical research. So this is really for our biomedical students who are interested in doing wet lab experiences. For students who are interested, you're able to enroll at these labs at no additional cost. The way that it works is that we slot in specific dates. Currently, we have a few more slots up in May. More summer positions will open as time goes by. The way these labs basically work is that there are one of 2 tracks available to students. Students are either able to work on pre-approved projects. This means that we have a list of 20 experiments that students are able to do to gain lab experience, or students are able to propose their own experiments, in which case they will have to go through a slightly lengthier approval process with the local regulatory authorities because this is a biosafety level 2 facility. Finally, let me mention here the CCIR Student Research Symposium. Every year at the end of July, CCIR hosts an in-person event at the University of Cambridge where we invite some of our best students of the year to come present in person their research at the University of Cambridge. We rent out several spaces. We rent out the dining hall for a high table dinner reception. And every year we invite a Nobel laureate to come speak to our students. This year, we're inviting Dr. Barry C. Barish, the Nobel Prize laureate in physics in 2017. It's a really special opportunity where you get to meet some of the leading researchers and scientists of our era. In order to participate in this event, you have to submit an abstract to the symposium by June. It is only available for current and past CCIR students. If you get into the summer program, you will make it just in time to submit an abstract for the student symposium. If you don't make it this year, however, there is always next year. Moreover, there's also the CCIR Virtual Student Research Symposium that is held every year in December. Here we work with the JNOS out in Germany. As a result of that partnership, all our presenters for the Winter Symposium get their work, their abstracts published at the Journal of the Student Network for Open Science. With that, let's talk a little bit more in detail about the two programs, beginning with the Future Scholar program. The Future Scholar program is our small group research program that we host 3 times a year, once in the spring, once in the summer, and once in the fall. In each of these trimesters, we offer about 150 different courses in everything from mathematics to philosophy to social science. All of these courses are unique, but they all share the same basic structure. Each of these courses is composed of 5 students paired with 1 faculty mentor and 1 TA who is a PhD student in the relevant subject. Your faculty and your TA will together lead a small cohort of 5 students over a 13-week period where students meet once with the faculty, once with the TA every single week to gradually build up towards their final research project. So we are offering about 150 courses in the summer. I won't be going over the details here. If you're interested in what courses we're offering in the summer, who's teaching them, I encourage you guys to go to the website and download the prospectus because there you'll get detailed course breakdowns as well as professor biographies. What I'll talk about today is the admissions procedures. So early admissions for the summer is due on May 1st, so we're just about a month out, and regular decision is going to be admissions is May 15th. The program will start roughly early in mid-June, and the admissions is rolling. What this means is that there is an absolute early bird advantage, especially when it comes to our most competitive season, which is summer. The admissions process itself is quite straightforward. You fill out your application, you send in your transcript, and then you send in any supplementary materials that you may want to help showcase you. This could include standardized testing, writing samples, CVs, and certificates. Please note that anything we say is optional is truly optional in the admissions process. If we say that standardized testing is optional, it means that we will not punish you for not having standardized testing. Optional is always truly optional. Qualified applicants will then be invited back to an interview. The interview is conducted by one of our in-house PhD academic advisors, and it is a technical style interview focused on your area of study and your background and problem-solving skills, in addition to being a conversation about your passions and aspirations. If you're interested in learning more about the interview and preparing for that, once again, I encourage you to download the prospectus. There's a detailed interview guide with sample questions in there to help you prepare. The final admissions decisions is always made by the professors themselves. So that's how the final admissions decision is always made. With that, let's say something about the one-on-one research mentorship. The one-on-one program is our one student, one mentor, one project program. And what this program allows you to do is to study what you want, the way you want, with tons of flexibility and customizability, both in terms of its content and its structure. So in terms of the content of this program, the basic idea here is that if you're not interested in any of the 150 courses that we are offering at the Future Scholar, we have roughly 500 mentors at this stage who are capable of pretty much mentoring any subject under the sun. So should you be interested in topological physics or 13th century Spanish monastic history, luckily we have faculty for all of that. Furthermore, here we have a program that is flexible in its structure and rolling in its admissions. So you can start this program whenever in the year you want. And the program itself is 14 one-hour sessions that can be compressed, extended, scheduled over 10, 14, 20 weeks, depending on what's best for you and your project. The way this program works is that you tell us what you are interested in, and we go through a matching process with you. The first step of the one-on-one research mentorship process is that you schedule an intake meeting with us. The intake meeting you schedule directly on the website. It is a non-evaluative brainstorming meeting that helps prepare you as you undergo this matching process. The subsequent steps are quite similar to the Future Scholar. You apply, we interview you. And finally, for qualified applicants, we will create a profile for them and circulate their profile with relevant faculty members. So let's say you're interested in quantum physics, we'll circulate you with all our quantum physicists. Should one of the quantum physicists be interested in meeting with you, we will then set you and the mentor up for an initial introductory meeting where you guys get to chat for about 15 to 20 minutes to make sure that you guys are aligned in terms of your interests, backgrounds, and expectations. Once again, your mentor will have final admission stay until after your introductory meeting. That's where both of you guys get to decide whether to finally move forward. As far as I'm aware, this is pretty unique for CCIR in that you actually get to meet your mentor before finally confirming your one-on-one research mentorship program. Okay, with that, let me say something quickly about tuition and scholarship before turning to Q&A. So the Future Scholar program has a base tuition of $4,550 with a merit-based scholarship that can cover up to 10% of your final tuition. We do offer need-aware financial aid that can cover upwards of full aid for the Future Scholar program. Do note, however, that the Future Scholar program is competitive in terms of its financial aid, and financial aid is always given on the basis of need and merit. What that means is that we will determine your financial level of need in relationship to how strong of a student you are. We typically like to give larger sums, a smaller number of large financial aid packages rather than a larger number of small financial aid packages. And what this means is that the financial aid packages are really quite competitive. Detailed instructions on how to apply are on the prospectus. Quite straightforward. We just need some financial documentation and we'll review your application as per usual. For the one-on-one program, the base tuition is $6,950. Once again, the merit-based scholarship is automatically considered and can cover up to 10% of your final tuition. Financial aid is unfortunately not available for the one-on-one. We do have installation plans for both programs available. 6 months at no additional fees, 36 months at lower at variable interest. Unfortunately, this is only available to U.S. citizens and permanent residents for now, because we work with Climb Loan, which is a U.S.-based company that requires U.S.-based credit scoring. Very quickly here, I'll mention the Rethink Essay Competition because this is another way to get funding for our programs. The essay competition is not going to be the focus of today's workshop. I won't be answering any questions about it. However, there is a separate workshop that's available. You can sign up through the website. Details about the essay competition is all online. There are cash prizes as well as scholarships. It's free entry. Really cool event. I encourage you guys all to go check it out. Thank you all for taking your time to do this meeting. I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Thank you so much.